My name is Liana. I am 30 years old. I live with my husband Mark and our son. Our son's name is Leo. He is 4 years old. We live in a small apartment in a quiet street. The apartment has 1 bedroom, 1 small living room, and 1 kitchen. It is not big, but it is our home. We do not have many things, but we take care of each other. My husband Mark worked at a construction company. He worked hard every day. He carried heavy boxes. He fixed walls. He worked in the hot sun and in the cold rain. He did not earn much money, but his job was stable. His salary helped us pay the rent, the bills, and food for the week. We did not have extra money for new clothes, or for trips, or for fun things. But we were a simple family. We wanted peace, not luxury. Mark always told me that he wanted to give me and our son a better life one day. He wanted a better job. He wanted more money. He wanted to feel proud as a father and husband. I always told him he was already a good man. I told him he was enough. But inside, I also wished for a little more comfort. I wished for a nice dress. I wished for a small cake for my son's birthday. I wished for a little freedom from worry. One evening, Mark came home with a big smile. His eyes were bright and full of hope. He sat beside me and held my hands. He said, "My boss told me I will get a promotion next month." My heart jumped with joy. For the first time in a long time, I felt light. I felt free. I felt happy. I imagined our life with a bigger income. I imagined a small celebration for Leo. I imagined buying a new dress for myself. I imagined eating at a restaurant for the first time in years. Mark looked so happy that evening. He hugged Leo and lifted him in the air. He said, "Papa will have a better job soon." Leo laughed and clapped his hands. Everything felt warm and bright, but life changed very fast. 2 weeks later, Mark came home late. His face was serious. His eyes looked tired. He did not smile. He sat on the chair and did not say a word. I felt my heart beat faster. I asked, "What is wrong, Mark?" He did not look at me. He put his face in his hands. After a long moment, he said, "They let me go." I felt cold. For a second, I did not understand. I asked, "What do you mean?" Mark took a deep breath. He said, "The company is closing some offices. They said there is no work. They fired me." I felt like the floor moved under my feet. I looked at my husband. His eyes were wet. He tried not to cry, but I could see the pain inside him. I sat beside him and held his hand. I told him we would be fine. I told him he would find a new job. But inside, I was scared. Our life was already hard. Now it felt impossible. That night I could not sleep. I looked at the ceiling for hours. I thought about the rent. I thought about the bills. I thought about our son. I thought about the money we had saved. It was not much. Maybe it could help for 1 or 2 months. After that, I did not know what would happen. I tried to be quiet because I did not want Mark to feel worse. I knew he already felt like he had failed us. I did not want him to see my fear. The next morning, Mark woke up very early. He said he would start looking for work right away. He took his old laptop and sat at the table. He sent many CVs. He wrote emails. He checked job websites. He called companies and asked for openings. He left the house for interviews. He walked from place to place under the hot sun. He came home tired every evening. When I asked, "Did you get the job?" he always said, "No, not yet." Each day, he looked more worried. His shoulders became heavy. His eyes became dark. His voice became quiet. Weeks passed. The savings became smaller. I cooked cheaper food. Sometimes we ate the same meal for 2 days. I cut old clothes to fix new ones for Leo. His shoes broke, so I fixed them with glue. I did not buy anything for myself. I did not buy snacks. I did not buy makeup. I did not even buy a new spoon when one broke. I tried to save every small coin. One day, I took off my ring and looked at it. It was not expensive, but it was important to me. When I bought it, it felt like a promise. But now, we needed money more than a ring. I sold it to pay for the rent and the bills. I cried after selling it, but I told myself it was for my family. One afternoon, my friend Sarah came to visit. She saw me cooking. She tasted the food and said, "Liana, this is very good. Why don't you try selling your food online?" I looked at her with surprise. I had never thought about selling food. I always cooked for my family. I never imagined cooking for other people. Sarah told me she had seen other women selling homemade meals online. She said it could bring a little money. That night, I told Mark about the idea. He looked upset. He said, "You do not need to work. You already do too much. I will find a job soon. Do not worry about money." I could see that he felt sad. Maybe he felt like he had failed. I touched his arm gently and said, "It is just until you find a job. It will help us a little." After a moment, he agreed. I took pictures of my food and posted them online. At first, nothing happened. Then one person ordered a meal. Then another. Soon I had 2 or 3 orders a week. Then I had more. The money was small, but it paid for groceries. It helped us survive. But it also made my days very long. I cleaned the house. I washed dishes. I cooked for customers. I took care of Leo. I put him to sleep. I washed more dishes. At night, I felt so tired that my hands shook. My back hurt. My eyes felt heavy. But I kept going because I knew we needed the money. Mark still looked for work every day. He went to interviews. He walked to many places. But no one called him back. I knew he was trying. I knew he wanted to help us. But after months of stress, I began to feel heavy inside. I began to feel alone. I felt like everything was on my shoulders. One evening, Leo started crying in his room. I was cooking. Hot oil burned my hand. I felt pain and I felt tired. I looked at Mark sitting on the sofa. I felt angry. I said, "What are you doing? You promised you would find something. I work all day. I cook. I sell food. I feed this house. And I still worry about everything. I am tired." "Mark." My voice was shaking. Mark did not shout back. He looked at me with sad eyes. He said, "I am trying, Liana. I am trying." His voice was soft and tired. He sounded like a man who had lost everything inside. At that moment, I felt mixed emotions. I felt angry. I felt sad. I felt guilty. I saw the pain in his eyes. I felt ashamed for shouting. He got up and left the room. He sat outside on the stairs. I saw him through the window. He looked hurt. He looked alone. I did not want to break him. I only wanted him to wake up and fight again. But I also knew he was already fighting. Life was just too hard. The next morning, we both said sorry. I said, "I am sorry for shouting. I was scared." Mark said, "You were right, Liana. I should do more." That day, something changed inside him. He stopped waiting for the perfect job. He applied to small companies. He asked for any work. He went to a restaurant and asked if they needed a cleaner. He applied for a taxi job. He called many people. Still, no one hired him. But he did not stop. He tried every day. Before I continue rest of the story, please like, subscribe, share, and tell me where you are listening from. Your support means a lot to me. Now let's continue. Days passed, and Mark kept looking for work. He left early in the morning and came home late. Sometimes he walked for hours. Sometimes he took a bus and waited in long lines for interviews. He always came home with a tired face. When he entered the house, I looked at him and tried to read his eyes. I wanted to see hope, but many days I saw only worry. I always asked the same question. I asked, "Did you get the job?" He always gave the same answer. He said, "Not yet." His voice was weak. His shoulders were low. I could see that each no hurt him more than the last. The savings continued to fall. Every week we paid the rent. Every week we paid for food. Every week the number in our bank account became smaller. I counted money many times a day. I counted coins. I counted notes. I counted every little thing. I tried to plan the whole month. I tried to see how long we could survive. Sometimes I sat in the kitchen with my head on the table and closed my eyes. I felt tired all the time, but I had to stay strong. I had to be calm for my son. I had to support Mark. I had to keep the house going. My food business helped, but it was small. Some days I got many orders. Some days I got none. I woke up early to prepare breakfast for my son. Then I cleaned the house. Then I cooked for customers. I packed the meals and sent them out. When a customer liked the food, they ordered again. When a customer did not like it, they did not come back. I did my best to make good food. I wanted every meal to be tasty and clean, but I also felt tired. I did not have time to rest. I did not have time to think about myself. I did not have time to breathe. One afternoon, I stood in the kitchen and looked at my hands. They were dry from washing dishes. They were red from hot pans. They looked older than my age. I felt sad. I felt like I was losing a part of myself. But I told myself that this was for my family. I told myself that it would not be forever. I told myself that Mark would find work soon. That thought helped me stay strong. Mark tried many different jobs. One day, he went to a small workshop. They needed a helper. But when he told them he had worked in construction, they said he was too experienced. Another day, he went to a shop to ask about cleaning work. They told him they wanted a woman for the job. Another day, he went to a hotel to ask about night shifts. They told him they already had enough workers. Every time he came home, I saw how his hope slowly faded. One evening, we sat at the table after dinner. Mark was quiet. I was quiet too. The room felt heavy. I did not know what to say. Mark looked at me and said, "Do you think I am useless?" My heart broke when I heard that. I moved closer to him and held his hand. I said, "No, you are not useless. You are trying. We are a team." He looked down. He said, "A man should take care of his family, but you are working more than me." I told him, "I am doing this because I love you. You are my husband. We are fighting this together." He nodded softly, but I knew he still felt bad. I could see it in his eyes. 2 months passed. The stress grew in our home. Our son Leo was still young, so he did not understand what was happening. But sometimes he looked at us with confused eyes. He saw us tired. He saw us quiet. He saw us worried. He often came to me and said, "Mama, are you okay?" I smiled and told him yes, even when I wanted to cry. I did not want him to feel scared. One night I got a call from the landlord. He said we were late with the rent. I told him we would pay in a few days. After the call, my hands shook. I felt pressure in my chest. I knew we had no money left. I knew we had 1 or 2 days to fix the rent. I cooked dinner, but my mind was full of fear. Leo began to cry in his room. Oil in the pan spilled on my hand, and it burned me. I felt pain. I felt tired. I felt lost. Mark walked into the kitchen. He looked at me. I felt something inside me break. I said, "Mark, what are you doing? You said you would find a job. I work all day. I cook. I sell food. I take care of everything. And I am still the one worrying about money. I am tired." My voice was louder than normal. My chest was tight. My eyes were wet. I felt like I had carried too much for too long. I felt like I was falling. Mark stood still. He did not move. He did not shout back. He looked at me like a man who had no more words. He said, "I am trying, Liana. I am trying every day." His voice was soft and full of pain. He looked at the floor. His whole body looked tired. I felt angry at the situation, not at him, but he felt the anger as if it was his fault. After a moment, he walked out of the room. He opened the door and sat on the stairs outside. I stood in the kitchen and looked at the door. I felt guilty. I felt sad. I did not want to hurt him. I only wanted help. I only wanted support. I washed the dishes slowly. Through the window, I saw Mark sitting on the steps. He looked alone. He looked like he was carrying a heavy weight. I wanted to go to him, but I felt too tired to move. I finished the dishes and checked on Leo. Then I sat in the living room and cried quietly. Life felt too hard. The next morning, Mark came to me and said he was sorry. I told him I was sorry too. I told him I was scared. He touched my arm and said, "I know." I looked into his eyes. I saw pain. I saw fear. But I also saw love. He said, You were right yesterday. I should do more. I cannot wait for the perfect job now. I will take any job I can find. Something inside him changed that day. I saw it. He looked more serious. He looked ready to fight again. Mark started looking for every kind of job. He did not care if the job was small. He went to a restaurant and asked if they needed a cleaner. They took his number but did not call. He went to a shop and asked if he could help. They told him they would think about it. He went to a taxi company. They asked him to fill a form. He tried everything. Every morning he woke up early. He washed his face. He dressed quickly. He left the house with hope. And every night he came home tired, but he still tried the next day. I saw him changing. He was not the same man who sat silently on the sofa months ago. Now he stood with more strength. Even if life said no, he kept going. He gave me a small smile every night. I gave him a small smile back. Slowly, the fear inside me became smaller. It did not disappear, but it became lighter. I felt like we were fighting together again. One night, he came home with a small bag of fruit. He said he used the last money in his pocket because he wanted Leo to have something sweet. Leo laughed with joy. I looked at Mark and felt warm inside. Even in hard times, he wanted to make our son happy. Even without a job, he still tried to give something. I felt love for him. I felt respect. I felt hope. But life was still hard. The next month was the same. Mark tried. I worked. We both waited for one small change. We both waited for one good day. We both waited for one yes. Every night, I prayed for something good to happen. One morning, Mark woke up early. He looked tired but ready. He said he had one more interview. He said it was at a small factory outside the city. He did not look excited. He looked scared. He said, "What if they say no again?" I touched his hand and said, "Go. Mark, try one more time." He took a deep breath, wore his old coat, and left the house. I waited at home. I cleaned the kitchen, but my hands felt weak. I checked my phone many times. I looked at the door again and again. I prayed for good news. I wanted one good moment for our family. After 3 long hours, Mark came home. His face looked empty. My heart fell. I thought he did not get the job. I walked to him slowly. Then he looked at me and smiled. It was a small smile, but it was full of hope. He said, "They gave me the job. I start next week." Tears filled my eyes. I felt light for the first time in months. The job did not pay much, but it was honest work. It meant we could breathe again. I hugged him and said, "We will make it work." Mark held me close and said, "Thank you for not giving up on me." Life did not become perfect. We still counted money. We still checked prices. I still cooked for customers, and Mark still learned new tasks at the factory. But now the weight was shared. We talked more. We smiled more. We felt like a team again. Our small home felt warm once more. Hard days taught us something important. We learned that love and support can keep a family strong, even in dark times. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed this story, please like the video and subscribe to English Medium Stories. Stay with us for more classic stories in easy English.